The hum of the office fridge was the only sound left when I packed the last of my things. It buzzed low and steady, like it was trying to fill the space HR had emptied. The cardboard box in my hands wasn't heavy, just honest. A mug, two notebooks, a couple of pens I probably shouldn't have taken, but it felt heavier because no one had come to say goodbye. That morning, I'd walked in early, same as always. 7:45 sharp, lights still off in half the cubicles. The smell of burnt coffee and lemon disinfectant. I'd logged in, opened my inbox, and there it was. Meeting with HR, 9:30 a.m. No subject line, no explanation. I already knew what it meant. It's funny. For 6 months, I'd been doing two jobs, mine and Derek's. He'd gone on medical leave after some back injury during a skiing trip in Vermont. The guy was a senior project manager, technically my supervisor, but I handled most of his reports, approvals, even his client calls. I'd told myself I was being a team player, that helping out would mean something when he came back. Turns out it did mean something, just not for me. When the HR rep, a woman named Fiona, closed the door behind me, I could already see the layoff packet on the table. White folder, company logo embossed, a line of blue sticky notes where she'd probably pre-marked the pages for signature, the kind of efficiency I used to admire. "Michael, this isn't about performance," she started. "We're restructuring. Your position has been impacted." That word, impacted, sounded like a euphemism for being erased. I remember nodding, saying, "I understand, ma'am," even though I didn't. I'd been covering for a guy who hadn't worked in half a year, and they were still sending his name on the team memos, still forwarding his emails. After the meeting, Fiona offered to walk me out. I told her I'd prefer to take a few minutes. She nodded, probably relieved. It's easier when the person doesn't make a scene. I went back to my desk. The monitor still showed Derek's inbox open in the shared mail queue. His name right there, derek.k@haldenconsulting.com. I'd been managing that mailbox for months, forwarding client issues, fixing billing mistakes, smoothing over missed deadlines. Sometimes, people even thanked him for my work. I'd laugh about it with my wife Lisa over dinner. "It's fine," I'd say. "They know who really keeps the wheels turning." Maybe I wanted to believe that. I hit refresh out of habit. A new email blinked in. Subject: Kippy, forecast adjustments. Need Derek's sign-off. Sent 5 minutes ago. 5 minutes. Someone up the chain still thought he was here, still thought he was the one holding things together. That was when it hit me. No one had even told the team I was gone yet. I started at Halden Consulting 3 years ago, mid-pandemic. Remote onboarding, video calls, blurred backgrounds. Derek was one of the first people I met over Zoom. Always smiling, golf trophies in the background, a kind of effortless confidence that made people want to follow him. When we finally met in person, after offices reopened, he clapped me on the back and said, "You're the guy who saved my Q2 forecast. Appreciate it, man." That's how it started. Over time, he delegated more. First, it was client reports, then billing reconciliations, then full presentation decks. "You're better with numbers," he'd say. "I'll handle the client relationships." Except he didn't. He'd just forward my notes and call it a day. I didn't mind. Not at first. It felt like trust. Then came last December. He slipped on ice during a company ski retreat. Classic irony. The injury wasn't serious, but the doctor put him on medical leave. "Just for recovery," he'd said. "A few weeks, tops." The company sent around a message. "Michael will assist with project continuity during Derek's recovery." Assist. That word stuck. It sounded temporary, light. But weeks turned into months. Spring came, and HR quietly stopped mentioning his return date. By June, I was handling his entire portfolio. I'd been meaning to ask about a title adjustment. Lisa even encouraged me. They're taking advantage of you, she said. Ask for recognition, or at least a raise. But I didn't. I told myself timing mattered, that it'd be awkward to ask when someone was on medical leave, that loyalty would pay off. Now, sitting there with a cardboard box and a blinking inbox, I realized loyalty doesn't pay, at least not in corporate currency. When I got home, the house was quiet except for the sound of Lisa's typing from the dining table. She worked remote for a mortgage firm, so she'd been there all morning. Our dog Penny trotted up with her usual tail wag, like she didn't know the world had just shifted a little. Lisa looked up. "You're home early. You okay?" I didn't answer right away, just set the box down on the counter. The mug inside rattled. Her face softened before I even said it. "They let you go." I nodded. Restructuring. She exhaled through her nose, the way she did when trying not to curse in front of Penny. "After everything you've done for them?" "They said it's not personal." She shook her head. "It's always personal when it happens to you." We sat there for a while, the fridge hum filling the silence again. I told her about the email, how they were still sending Derek the same project updates, how no one even mentioned my name in the chain. She stared at me like I'd told her something absurd. "They're using your work under his name?" "Yeah." "You need to say something. HR, corporate, something." "Already tried that," I said. Fiona said the decision's final. Severance, 2 weeks' pay, and the usual paperwork. Lisa rubbed her temples. "That's not right." I laughed, quiet, humorless. "Since when does right matter?" She looked at me for a long time, then said softly, "You've got to do something with this, Mike. You can't just let them walk over you." That night I couldn't sleep. The house creaked the way old houses do, like it's thinking. I lay there watching the ceiling fan spin shadows across the room. My phone buzzed once on the nightstand. A new email from Derek. Subject: checking in. Need a quick favor. My stomach turned. The message was short. "Hey man, hope you're doing okay. Fiona told me about the layoffs. Sorry you got caught up in that mess. Listen, any chance you still have the client template from the Milton account? I can't find it on the drive, and they're asking me for an update. Appreciate it." D. It was dated 2 hours after I'd been laid off. He knew. He knew, and still asked me to send him the file. Lisa stirred beside me, half asleep. "What's wrong?" I showed her the screen. She squinted. "You've got to be kidding me." I wish I was. "What are you going to do?" I didn't answer. Because honestly, I didn't know yet. The next morning, I got up early out of habit, made coffee, sat at the kitchen table and stared at the laptop for a long time. I still had access to my company email. Apparently, they hadn't revoked it yet. Maybe an oversight. Maybe they thought I'd just disappear quietly. I clicked through the inbox. Half the emails were new messages meant for Derek. Client queries, budget updates, even a few internal threads about upcoming audits. They were all sent to his address, but I was still CC'd because I'd been managing that queue for so long. That's when I saw it. An internal memo labeled Transition Plan to Derek K. Portfolio. It was dated the day after my layoff. Curiosity won over restraint. I opened it. The first line read, "Effective immediately, Derek K. will resume management of his client portfolio, supported by temporary contractor assistance for data reconciliation tasks." Contractor assistance. That was my job, reduced to a freelancer. The document went on to list responsibilities, deliverables, and contact chains. At the bottom, in the support team section, my own notes had been copy-pasted, right down to the bullet points I'd written last week. No credit, no acknowledgement, just my work, stripped of context and handed back to the guy I'd been covering for. By noon, I was pacing. I couldn't tell if it was anger or humiliation fueling me? Maybe both. Lisa was on a conference call in the next room, her voice calm and professional. I envied that steadiness. I opened Derek's email again. Hey man, any chance you still have the client template? I started typing. Derek, hope your back's feeling better. I saw the transition memo. Congrats on getting your portfolio back. You'll find the Milton template in your shared drive under Active. Kyoshu. All updates are current through last Friday. You might also want to check the reconciliation logs. There are 6 months of my notes in there. Should make things easier. Michael. I hovered over send. My hand was shaking a little, not from fear, just from restraint. There was more I wanted to say. About how I'd covered for him through nights and weekends, about how he'd taken the praise for emails I'd written, about how the company had looked me in the eye and told me it's not personal. But I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I added one last line. P.S. You're still getting my emails. Might want to fix that. Then I hit send. For the next few days, I tried to keep busy, updated my resume, scrolled through job boards that all blurred together after a while. Dynamic professional seeking growth opportunity. Words that sounded less like me and more like filler. Lisa kept checking in. Any bites? Not yet. You'll find something better. Maybe. But every time I refreshed my inbox, I saw another message meant for Derek. Another reminder that the company hadn't even bothered to remove me from the system. On Friday, 3 days after the layoff, an email popped up with the subject. Client complaint, Milton account. It was from the client director, marked urgent. Derek, we've reviewed the updated numbers, and they don't match last quarter's reconciliation. Can you clarify which forecast is final? Andrea. I knew exactly what she was talking about. I'd left a note in the file explaining a pending correction Derek was supposed to finalize. He hadn't. So now, his first week back, the numbers were wrong. And my name was still on the internal spreadsheet's metadata. That evening, Lisa and I went out for a walk. The air had that early autumn bite. Cool, but still carrying the smell of cut grass. She held my arm. Still thinking about it? She asked. Yeah. You can't fix their mess forever, Mike. I know, but they're going to blame me if the client escalates. My name's on that file. Then maybe it's time to stop being quiet about it. I looked at her, unsure what she meant. Document everything, she said. If they're using your work, your data, your name, you've got proof. Use it. That stuck with me. When we got home, I opened my old laptop, pulled up every folder, every time-stamped spreadsheet, every draft email I'd sent under Derek's name. 6 months worth of receipts, approvals, reconciliations, all tied to my login history. I wasn't sure yet what I'd do with it, but for the first time since the layoff, I felt something like control. Maybe I couldn't get my job back, but I could make sure they remembered who actually did the work. By Monday, I'd built a small fortress of digital proof. Folders inside folders, labeled things like Q1 performance, Derek, client calls, Mike logged in and audit, prep, auth history. It was obsessive, sure, but when you spend months being invisible, you start wanting to leave fingerprints everywhere. Lisa called it my quiet rebellion. I called it insurance. Around 10 that morning, I got another email, still from the Halden domain. This one was forwarded from a client. Derek. The new forecast template doesn't reconcile with the last quarter's numbers. Can you confirm which dataset to reference for the board review? Regards, Natalie. I stared at it for a minute. Then I realized something. She'd attached my spreadsheet, my file name convention, my formatting quirks, even my initials at the bottom of each sheet tab, MK. They hadn't even removed them. I called Lisa over. Look at this. She leaned in, frowning. They're still using your file. Yep. With your initials. Yep. She crossed her arms. That's not just lazy. That's evidence. Her tone made me pause. Evidence of what? Of them profiting off your work after termination. Depending on what they used it for, you might have a claim, or at least leverage. I blinked. Lisa wasn't usually the confrontational type. She worked in underwriting. She understood systems, not fights. But she looked more certain than I felt. I spent the afternoon going through sent folders, old attachments, client receipts, every timestamp, every tracked edit, every change logged to my user ID. The deeper I dug, the more I realized how seamless the transition had been. They hadn't fired me, really. They'd just deleted my name. And Derek, if the tone of his emails was anything to go by, hadn't skipped a beat. By evening, I had 42 documents saved locally, plus a handful of Slack screenshots showing conversations that proved I'd made decisions signed under his name. Lisa came in with 2 mugs of coffee. You look like a detective from one of those procedural shows. Feels like one, I said. She set a mug next to me and leaned against the counter. So what's next? I don't know yet. You're not thinking of emailing him again, are you? I'm thinking of not letting this disappear, I said. There's a difference. The next day, I decided to test something. I replied to one of the misdirected client emails, just to see if anyone noticed. Hi, Natalie, this is Michael, formerly with Halden. I believe you may have sent this to me by mistake. Best, Michael Simple, polite. No accusations. She responded 10 minutes later. Michael, thank you for clarifying. I wasn't aware you'd left. Honestly, I thought you and Derek were both still on the Milton portfolio. Hope things are okay. I stared at the screen. Hope things are okay. That was the corporate equivalent of, I'm sorry for your loss. Before I could reply, another message arrived, this time from an internal Halden address. Fiona, HR. Michael, please refrain from responding to company or client correspondence going forward. Your employment has concluded, and continued contact could create confusion. Best, Fiona. There it was. Quick, efficient, detached. But she didn't say unauthorized contact, just could create confusion. That phrasing stuck in my head. Lisa read over my shoulder. They're scared of you saying something. Or they think I'll make noise. Then maybe you should. 2 days later, Derek called. It was mid-morning, rain streaking the kitchen window, the kind of steady gray that makes the world feel like it's holding its breath. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Hey, Mike, he said, too cheerful. Got a sec? Sure. Listen, I just wanted to clear the air, man. I heard things got messy after the restructuring. Messy, I repeated. That's one word for it. He laughed, that same smooth chuckle he used when talking down clients. Yeah, well, you know how these things go. None of it's personal. I didn't respond. Let the silence stretch. He cleared his throat. Anyway, I really appreciate all the help you gave me while I was out. Seriously, I told Fiona you carried the team. Appreciate that. Hey, actually, funny thing, you might still be getting my emails. It's slow with these transitions. If you could forward anything important my way, that'd be great. I almost laughed. Still getting your emails, yeah? Ah, yeah, see? That's what I mean, just send them my way. Thanks, man. You always were solid. Then he hung up. No apology, no offer. Just another favor disguised as a compliment. Lisa came in from the hallway. That him? Yeah. What did he say? I stared at the phone. He wants me to forward his emails. She blinked. He knows you're laid off? Yep. And still asked? Yep. She shook her head slowly. That's arrogance on a different level. That night, I opened my laptop again. There were now 17 unread messages for Derek sitting in my inbox. Some were client-related, some internal. One was from Fiona, labeled Urgent, Follow-up on Audit Adjustments. Curiosity tugged harder than caution. I clicked it open. Derek, the auditors are requesting confirmation on the Q1 variance logs. We're missing documentation from February through May. Please confirm whether these were archived or deleted. Best, Fiona. I knew exactly which logs she meant, because I'd written them. They weren't missing. They were in a shared drive under my folder, variance logs on MK. So if Derek couldn't find them, it meant one thing. He didn't even know where to look. And Fiona didn't know I still had access. Lisa walked in, brushing her hair into a ponytail. You're grinning. That's not your usual job hunt face. I just realized something, I said. They can't fix the audit without me. Her eyebrow lifted. You sure? Positive. So maybe I don't stay quiet anymore. Wednesday morning, I drafted an email. Hi, Fiona, I saw your note about the Q1 variance logs. Those were maintained under my credentials while Derek was on leave. If you need access, I can provide the directory or forward the files directly. I'm aware my employment ended last week, but given the nature of the audit, I wanted to make sure you had what you needed to maintain compliance. Michael K. I didn't CC anyone. Didn't blindside her. Just kept it factual. It took about 20 minutes for her to reply. Michael, thank you for reaching out. Please do not engage with internal matters going forward. We have the situation handled. Fiona. No acknowledgement. No thank you. But 15 minutes later, another email popped up, this time from Derek. Mike, appreciate you flagging that to Fiona. Could you actually just zip the variance files and send them to me? I'll make sure they're properly archived. D. That was it. That was the moment something inside me shifted. 6 months of unpaid overtime, deleted signatures, borrowed credit, and he still thought I just handed over. I replied, but not the way he expected. Derek, those logs are proprietary records tied to my credentials. As I'm no longer with Halden, I can't share them without explicit HR authorization. You'll need to go through Fiona. Michael. Lisa read it and smiled. That's the first time you've told him no, isn't it? Feels weird, I admitted. Feels good though, right? I looked at the sent folder. Yeah, it does. 2 hours later, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but instinct made me pick up. Michael Kent? Speaking. This is Martin Lopez, legal counsel for Halden Consulting. Do you have a moment? My stomach dropped. Sure. I'm calling regarding your correspondence earlier today. We're asking that you refrain from distributing or discussing any company materials post-termination. This includes variance logs and related financial records. I haven't distributed anything, I said. Just responded to an inquiry. He paused. We understand, but for confidentiality purposes, please delete all proprietary data in your possession. Will the company be deleting my name from work I authored? I asked. Excuse me? The logs you're requesting contain my edits and author tags. If they're repurposing my work under someone else's credentials, that's also a violation. Another pause. That's not a discussion for this call. I think it should be. His tone stiffened. Mr. Kent, this is a standard request. We appreciate your cooperation. Understood, as I said, and hung up before he could finish. Lisa was already standing in the doorway, eyebrows raised. Legal? Yep. And? They want me to delete everything. She crossed her arms. You're not deleting anything. No, I said, I'm not. That night, I made a backup drive. 2, actually. One on a physical hard drive, another in the cloud under a new encrypted folder. I labeled it Receipts. Then I sat there, staring at the files, at the months of invisible labor finally turned visible. I didn't know yet what I was going to do with it, but I knew one thing for sure. Halden wasn't getting to rewrite history without me. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual. Habit, not motivation. The coffee tasted off, maybe because I'd poured it into the mug I used at work. The one with the chipped handle and the faded #1 problem solver print Derek had given me 2 Christmases ago. It felt like holding a joke I wasn't in on anymore. Lisa was still asleep upstairs, but the dog sat at my feet watching. I think Penny could tell I was waiting for something, though I didn't know what. At 8:45, my phone buzzed again. A blocked number. I almost didn't pick up. "Mr. Kent, this is Fiona from HR. "Morning," I said. "I wanted to follow up on yesterday's exchange. Legal has been looped in, and we'd like to confirm that all company materials have been deleted from your personal devices." I stared at my laptop across the room. The folder labeled Receipts sat there like a quiet middle finger. "They're secured, Amisa," I said, "and I haven't shared them with anyone." "That's not quite the question." "I'm aware." A pause. I could hear typing on her end. "Michael, I understand you're upset. These transitions can be difficult." "I'm not upset, Fiona. I'm thorough. Big difference." She sighed. "I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. You no longer have authorization to access internal systems. Continuing to engage could be seen as..." "Clarification isn't engagement," I said. "You reached out to me about audit files your team couldn't locate. I offered to help. Then your legal department called to warn me. Now you're calling to confirm deletion. Maybe your systems aren't as tidy as you think." "Michael." I let the silence hang long enough for her to hear my breathing. Then she said, "I'll note that you're retaining files pending clarification," and hung up. Lisa came downstairs a few minutes later, hair tied back, still in her robe. That sounded tense. "They're circling the wagons." "Good. Means they're nervous." I laughed softly. Never thought I'd see the day I made HR nervous. She poured herself coffee, then leaned against the counter. "You're not going to delete anything, right?" "No." "Good. Because if you do, you're giving them a clean rewrite." She was right. Every log, every time-stamped file, they weren't just proof. They were the only thing tethering the truth to paper. By that afternoon, I got a call I didn't expect. "Michael Kent?" "Yeah." "This is Natalie from Milton Energy. You and I worked together on the Q3 projections." I froze for a second, then said, "Hi, Natalie." "Yeah, of course. I hope I'm not crossing any boundaries, but we've been having a hard time getting clarity from Derek. I wanted to check whether you'd mind walking me through what changed from the last version you sent." "I'm technically not supposed to," I said carefully. "But off the record?" She hesitated. "Off the record." So I told her. Not details that would violate confidentiality, just structural context. Why certain variance numbers shifted, where the reconciliation gaps came from, and how Derek had probably uploaded an old version. She was quiet when I finished. "That explains a lot." "I'm sorry you're caught in the middle," I said. "Honestly, I'm sorry you are," she replied. "It's obvious who did the work." After the call, I sat staring at the screen. It wasn't revenge that stirred in me. It was validation. Someone had finally said it out loud. Later that evening, Lisa came home from a quick grocery run and dropped a padded envelope on the table. "What's this?" I asked. "Mail from your old office. Came to our address." I tore it open. Inside was my final paycheck stub, a severance statement, and a non-disclosure agreement, unsigned. Lisa frowned. "They really sent it by regular mail?" "Yeah. And look." I pointed to the return label. "It's from Fiona. Handwritten." Lisa squinted. "That's weird." "Yeah," I said. "It is." I flipped through the paperwork. The NDA clause was vague, something about non-disclosure of internal operations, correspondence, and transition materials. The language was broader than usual. They were trying to seal every possible leak. Lisa noticed the look on my face. What? They're scared this will get out, I said. The audit, the handoff, the missing logs, it's a liability nightmare. And what happens if you don't sign it? Then I keep my voice. That night, I sat down and wrote an email draft I didn't plan to send, at least not yet, to Halden Legal Team. Subject: clarification request, ownership of work product. Dear Mr. Lopez, I have retained copies of files I created under my credentials between December and June, including variance logs, performance reconciliations, and forecast templates. These documents contain my intellectual contributions and author metadata. Before I delete or transfer any materials, please confirm in writing that my authorship will be preserved and that my name will not be removed or replaced in any materials used in ongoing audits or client deliverables. Sincerely, Michael Kent. I reread it 3 times. Lisa peeked over my shoulder. You're not going to send it? Not yet. I said, I want them to wonder when I will. The next day, I went for a walk to clear my head. It was one of those brittle, windy afternoons where every sound carries, the flagpole clanking at the post office, the low hiss of passing tires on wet asphalt. When I got home, there were 3 new emails waiting, one from Fiona, one from Martin Lopez, and one from Derek. I opened Derek's first. Hey man, don't want things to get weird. HR said you've still got some files that belong to the company. I know this whole thing sucks, but could you just send them over so we can all move on? D. The tone, so casual like I owed him closure, made my jaw tighten. Lisa leaned over my shoulder again. You're not replying to that, are you? No, but I'm replying to someone. I opened Fiona's email next. Michael, please confirm receipt of the severance and non-disclosure documents. As part of the release, you'll need to confirm deletion of all materials by Friday to finalize payment. Fiona. It wasn't phrased as a threat, but it read like one. Then I opened Martin's. Mr. Kent, this correspondence serves as formal notice regarding the company's request for deletion of proprietary materials. Failure to comply may delay or void severance processing. Martin Lopez, legal. I sat there for a full minute, rereading the phrase, may delay or void. Lisa's voice was steady but tight. They're holding your severance hostage. Yep. What are you going to do? I closed the laptop. I'm going to make a few calls. I didn't know many lawyers, but one name stuck from college. A friend of a friend, Noah Sanders, who'd gone into employment law. We weren't close, but close enough that I figured he'd at least take my call. He picked up on the second ring. Mike Kent? Man, it's been years. Yeah, hey, sorry for calling out of the blue. I need some quick advice. I told him the story. Short, factual, stripped of emotion. The coverage, the layoff, the emails, the legal threats. He was quiet for a while, then said, You still have the files? Yes. Good, don't delete them. Don't forward them. Just hold. That's basically what I've been doing. He chuckled dryly. Smart. From what you're describing, they might have misclassified your role while you were covering. If you were performing manager-level duties without compensation or title, you could have a claim. I'm not looking to sue, I said. Doesn't matter. Sometimes you just need leverage to get treated fairly. Send me what you've got, securely, no email attachments, and I'll take a look. After the call, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Grounded. Lisa smiled when I told her, Good, you needed someone in your corner. The next morning, Noah called back. I went through everything. You've got a stronger position than you think. How so? Well, for starters, you have verifiable authorship metadata on proprietary documents still in active use. If they're leveraging your work post-termination and your contributions weren't covered by an explicit IP transfer clause, that's a problem. I blinked. So they can't just pretend I didn't exist. Exactly. If they try to scrub your name, it's a falsification risk, especially if those documents go to clients or auditors. That's why they're pressuring you to delete everything. They don't want an audit trail leading back to your authorship. Lisa mouthed, "I told you so," from across the room. "What do I do next?" I asked. "I'll draft a notice of preservation request," Noah said. "Basically, a formal letter asking them to confirm they won't tamper with any data you created. You're not suing, you're just asserting your rights. And if they push back?" He laughed softly. "Then we'll see who blinks first." That afternoon, I got another message from Derek. "Mike, Fiona said you're lawyering up." "Come on, man. We've been through a lot. Don't make this ugly. You'll get your money. Just delete the stuff, and we can move on." D. Lisa read it over my shoulder. "He sounds scared." "He sounds exposed, Osem," I said. I typed a reply, slowly. "Derek, I'm not making this ugly. I'm just making it accurate. Michael." Then I hit send. For the first time since losing my job, I felt something close to peace. The morning Noah's letter went out, the air felt different. Quiet, but not the kind of quiet that means nothing's happening. The kind that means someone's waiting for a move. He'd CC'd me on the email to Halden Legal. Short, polite, but solid. "Dear Mr. Lopez, this letter serves as notice that Mr. Kent is preserving all materials relevant to his tenure and authorship of deliverables at Halden Consulting. We request written confirmation that Halden Consulting will not alter, delete, or reassign authorship metadata associated with said work. This notice does not constitute a claim at this time, but formalizes retention of evidence should any future dispute arise. Regards, Noah Sanders, Escron." It was exactly what I'd wanted. Not an attack, not a plea. Just a reminder that I existed. Lisa printed it and pinned it to the fridge like a diploma. "Frame it if you win," she said, half smiling. For the first 2 days, there was silence. No calls, no emails. The kind of stillness you only notice when you've been braced for noise. Then, late Thursday afternoon, I got a new message from Derek. Subject line, "Can we talk?" I opened it. "Mike, I think this whole thing's getting blown out of proportion. I never wanted you caught in the middle. HR's been on me nonstop. Look, I get that you're frustrated. You should be. But dragging lawyers into it isn't going to help anyone. Let's just talk, man to man. Coffee? My treat." D. Lisa read it and laughed. "Man to man? After he lets you get cut for his job?" I nodded slowly. "Yeah, but maybe he's scared enough to tell the truth." "Or to spin it," she said. "Maybe both." I stared at the screen a while longer before replying. "Sure. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. at the Corner Cafe on Broad." Friday morning was gray and windy. I got there early, sat near the window, back to the wall, the way you do when you don't quite trust what's coming. Derek walked in exactly on time, in that same blue blazer he used to wear for client pitches, the one with a coffee stain near the cuff. I noticed it because I'd been the one who spilled it. "Mike," he said, smiling like nothing had happened. I didn't stand up. "Derek." He ordered a latte, sat down across from me, and leaned forward like we were still co-workers. "So then, guess this all got messy fast." "Yeah," I said, "it did." "I swear, none of it was personal." "You keep saying that," I said. "But my name's gone from every file I built. My access was cut before anyone told me why. You took credit for my work and got your old job back. What part of that isn't personal? He sighed, rubbing his forehead. You think I wanted them to fire you? I told them you kept the place running. But upper management, they needed to trim headcount. I didn't have a choice. You had a choice when they asked who handled the forecasts, I said. He didn't answer, just stared at the cup between his hands. After a moment he said, You're not going to let this go, are you? No, I said. I'm not. He nodded, lips tightening. Then I guess I'll let legal handle it. He stood up, tossed a few bills on the table, and walked out. That was the last time I saw him in person. The following week was a blur of calls between Noah and Halden's legal team. They hadn't responded to the preservation letter directly, just sent a formal acknowledgement through an external compliance officer. Noah called one afternoon while I was walking Penny. They're rattled, he said, which means they're negotiating internally. Expect a call soon. Sure enough, 2 days later, Fiona emailed me again. Michael, the company appreciates your cooperation and would like to resolve this matter amicably. We're prepared to extend an additional 2 weeks severance and a letter of commendation for your file if you can confirm the deletion of materials by end of week. Fiona Lisa read it twice. They're trying to buy silence. I exhaled slowly. Yeah, but now I know what silence costs. Noah agreed. Don't reply yet, he said. They're fishing. They wouldn't offer extra pay unless they thought you had something they didn't want found. A few days later, the something revealed itself. I was organizing my folders when I found a buried email chain from February, one I'd forgotten about. It was between Derek and a client named Harlan Tech about a variance discrepancy. At the time, I'd fixed the numbers and sent them back. But what caught my eye now was a single line Derek had written to Fiona afterward. Mike handled the forecast adjustments independently. No oversight needed. That sentence, in HR language, was a gift. It documented my autonomy, proof that I'd been functioning as a manager without title or pay. I forwarded it to Noah with a note. This help? His reply came 5 minutes later. Oh, it helps. That weekend, I didn't check email. Lisa and I took Penny for a long drive out by the lake. The air smelled like pine and gasoline, and for the first time in months, I didn't feel trapped in my own head. We stopped at a diner, sat by the window, split a plate of fries. Lisa smiled at me over her coffee. Feels good to breathe again, doesn't it? Yeah, I said. Almost feels like it's over. She laughed softly. It's not over, but you're not the one on defense anymore. I didn't realize how true that was until Monday morning. At 9:12 a.m., I got an email from Martin Lopez, the company lawyer. Mr. Kent, Halden Consulting would like to reach a resolution. We acknowledge your contributions during Mr. Klein's leave period and recognize that documentation may reflect your authorship in certain files. We propose a mutual confidentiality agreement and an adjusted severance package equivalent to 6 additional weeks' pay in exchange for the deletion of retained data. Please confirm your acceptance. Martin Lopez, Legal Counsel. 6 weeks. That was triple the original offer. Lisa nearly dropped her mug when I showed her. 6 weeks? Yeah, they're scared. They're reasonable, I said, but we both knew the difference. Noah called a few hours later. We can push for 8, he said. 8? Trust me, they're folding. We'll send a counteroffer today. Include language about recognition of authorship. You won't get a public statement, but you'll get it in writing. By the end of that day, the letter was out, and by Thursday, the deal was done. 8 weeks severance, a signed acknowledgement letter verifying my authorship on all deliverables during Derek's leave. A mutual confidentiality clause that barred them, and me, from disparaging the other party. But the best part was the final paragraph. Halden Consulting recognizes that Mr. Kent's work ensured client continuity and operational integrity during the transition period. For once, it was on paper. The money hit my account the following week. It wasn't life-changing, but it bought breathing room, enough to think about what came next without panicking. Lisa and I celebrated the way middle-class victories are celebrated. Take out sushi and a bottle of cheap champagne. We toasted at the kitchen counter, the dog barking at the cork. To being seen, she said. To finally having my name on the work I did, I said. We laughed, clinked glasses, and for the first time in months, the silence in the house didn't feel heavy. Still, when I went to bed that night, I couldn't shake one thought. They still hadn't shut down my email access. I checked out of curiosity the next morning, and sure enough, there it was. Another misdirected message to Derek's inbox. Subject: Client query, Milton forecast error. I opened it. Derek, we're still seeing inconsistencies in the forecast template. Please confirm whether the reconciliation logs were reviewed before submission. Andrea, same client. Same problem. They'd broken what I built. I didn't reply, but I read the thread twice. And then, on impulse, I hit forward. Sent it to my personal email. Not to stir trouble, just to remember how it felt to be the one who knew the truth. It took me a week to stop refreshing that inbox, even after Noah closed the case, and Lisa said, "You won." I still checked, out of muscle memory, like some part of me couldn't accept being erased from the one system that had defined my days for years. Then, one Tuesday morning, while I was scrolling job listings half-heartedly, another email popped in. Subject line: Reference request, Michael Kent. Sent from Fiona at haldenconsulting.com. My chest tightened. I clicked it. Michael, I received an inquiry from a potential employer regarding verification of your employment dates and title. Please confirm if you'd like us to provide a standard reference or a detailed performance summary. Best, Fiona Lisa saw my face and walked over. What is it? She's asking if I want a standard reference. What's the difference? Standard means dates and title only. Detailed means she writes something about my work. Lisa thought for a second. You've got the letter they signed. Let them write what they're afraid to say out loud. That night, I drafted my reply carefully. Fiona, please provide a detailed reference. You can include the acknowledgement signed by Martin Lopez regarding my authorship of deliverables during Mr. Klein's leave. Best, Michael. The next morning, she responded. Michael, noted. I'll prepare the detailed reference and copy you for transparency. Fiona. When it arrived 2 hours later, I opened it slowly, almost afraid of what I'd see. To whom it may concern, Michael Kent served as an operations analyst at Halden Consulting from February 2021 to July 2025. During his tenure, Michael demonstrated exceptional initiative, assuming additional responsibilities beyond his formal role during a key transition period. His independent management of client deliverables ensured continuity, accuracy, and compliance during an extended absence within leadership. Michael consistently approached his work with professionalism, reliability, and integrity. We recommend him without reservation. Sincerely, Fiona Hale, Senior HR Partner, Halden Consulting. I read it twice, then a third time, slower. It wasn't an apology, but it was an admission, one that would outlive their silence. I started interviewing again. At first, the questions felt routine. Why did you leave Halden? What are you looking for next? I kept my answers simple. Restructuring. Looking for a company that values accountability. It sounded professional, neutral. But every time I said accountability, I could see hiring managers nod a little harder, like they understood something without me spelling it out. A week later, I got a call back from a mid-sized firm called Bracken & Field Consulting. The hiring director, a woman named Leah, had apparently read Fiona's reference before our meeting. She smiled across the table. You're the guy who held an entire portfolio together for 6 months, right? I laughed quietly. Depends who you ask. Well, she said, I'd like to ask you. The interview felt easy for the first time in my life. She didn't care about buzzwords. She asked about systems, people, what I'd learned about trust. When she said, "We take accountability seriously here," I knew exactly how much that sentence meant. 2 days later, she called with an offer. It wasn't a senior role, but it came with fair pay, clear scope, and cost, most importantly, my own name on everything I'd build. When I told Lisa, she wrapped her arms around me, head against my chest. Finally, a place that deserves you. I smiled into her hair. Maybe I needed to lose the wrong one first. The night before I started, I opened the old laptop one last time. The receipts folder still sat there on the desktop, untouched since Noah's final letter. I hovered over it, considering whether to delete it. Then I didn't. Not out of pettiness, out of respect for the version of me who'd stayed late every night fixing someone else's mistakes, who'd swallowed pride until there was nothing left but data and silence. That folder wasn't revenge. It was proof that I'd shown up, even when no one saw me. I renamed it Archive. On my first day at Bracken and Field, I walked into a smaller office with cheaper furniture, but the air felt lighter. Leah greeted me at the door, handed me a badge, and said, "You've got a clean slate here, Michael. No ghosts from the last job, unless you bring them." I smiled. I think I left most of them in my old inbox. She laughed. "Good. You'll fit right in." And as I sat at my new desk, a simple white mug waiting for me, blank, no slogans, no inside jokes, I realized something I hadn't felt since before Derek's leave. The hum of the office fridge sounded like peace, not punishment. A month later, my severance was a memory, and my savings steady again. Lisa and I spent weekends walking Penny by the lake, talking about nothing important. One evening, I got an email. Personal, not corporate. Subject, "Just checking in." From Derek Klein. I hovered over it for a full minute before opening it. "Mike, heard you landed somewhere new. Glad it worked out. No hard feelings, right?" D. I didn't reply. I archived it, closed the laptop, and went out to the porch. Lisa was watching the sunset, Penny asleep at her feet. "Work email?" she asked. "No," I said, slipping the phone into my pocket. "Just someone trying to rewrite history." She smiled. "And?" I let him. Because the truth was already written. In metadata, in signatures, in one quiet letter that said my name where his used to be. If this story moved you, subscribe for more real-life confessions and emotional journeys like this one.